Hi all. So many of you must have recently come across this headline that India is now the fourth most equal country in the world, only behind some of the European economies, including Slovenia, Slovakia, and Belarus. On the basis of a recently released World Bank report, we are also claiming that inequality in India is now less compared to some of the advanced economies, including USA, China, and United Kingdom. So in this video, we'll try to make more sense of these claims. I am Sapna Goyal, Assistant Professor in the Economics Department at Hansraj College, University of Delhi. I welcome you all to the eSamvad channel of Hansraj College. So first, we'll try to define what do we really mean by inequality and what are the various ways that we can measure inequality. Second, we'll try to understand some of these recent claims, on what basis we are making these claims, and what exactly does the World Bank data convey to us. So let's see. Okay, so now let's take a look at various measures of inequality, some of it, and one of the simplest measure of inequality is the range. So what are we doing here? This is a very crude measure. It doesn't require much information. All you need to do is you take the income of the richest person in the society and you take the income of the poorest person in the society. And the difference is basically essentially your range, right? And that serves as a very crude measure of inequality. But you need to refine this a bit here. Let's take some numbers. For example, let's say these are the income levels that you are taking. Suppose there are 5 individuals in the economy, okay? And these are the income levels that they have. Suppose 10, 20, 50, 70, and 90, okay? So what is the range here? Clearly, highest minus lowest, right? So 80 is the range here. Makes sense? Okay, so this gives you some sense of the kind of inequality that is there in this society. Take another example. Suppose what you do is you scale up the income levels of everyone in this society by 10. Okay, so what do you get? 100, 200, 500, 700, and 900. Now think about it. What should happen to inequality? Should it increase or not? Because everyone's income has increased, so inequality essentially has not increased. But now if you look at the range, what do you get? 900 minus 100, 800. So basically it means that the second society, this one, is more unequal compared to the first one. The degree of inequality going up from 80 to 800. But that should not be the case because essentially everyone's income has been scaled up by the same amount, right? So what do you do in this case? Which means something is problematic with the way we are looking at inequality here. So you need to refine this a bit more here. For that, what do? You divide your range by the average income level. And this is then how you understand inequality. Okay. Now look at the first income distribution here. Then what do you have? This one. What is the mean income here? For the first case, the mean is 48. So inequality is 80 divided by 48, which is, let's say, 1.6. Okay. So this is the inequality in the first society. What about the inequality in the second society? What about this one? What is the mean income level here? Well, the mean income here is simply 800. You know how to calculate the mean. And then what about inequality here? Well, inequality here then is 800, that is your range, divided by the mean income level, that is, just give me 1 second. Sorry, mean here is, 480. Okay, so the inequality is 800 divided by 480, which is the same number as you got before, right? So therefore, how do you use range as a measure of inequality? This is what you do. Range is range divided by average income. That becomes your measure of inequality. Okay. we have to divide by average income so that it becomes invariant to scale. Because if everyone's income is multiplied by the same amount, it should not affect inequality. So whatever measure of inequality you use, that should capture this part. Okay. So this is range. This is the simplest measure. Largely, this is not being used so much, but it's still being understood. It still gives you some sense of just how much inequality is there. Okay. Now the next is the Kuznets ratio. What do you have here? This is an interesting and very intuitive way to understand inequality. And I think mostly when you come across any news or something, you look at these numbers. Very frequently, these numbers would come in some of the key reports. What are you looking at here? You're just looking at, let's say, you have the total income. And then you try to understand that what is the share of different segments of the society in the total income, right? You arrange the entire population in increasing order of income, and then you simply see that, let's say, what is the share of, suppose, the richest 10% in total income, right? Or what is the share of top 20%, 30%, whatever information you have available, and whatever is it that you need for any kind of report or study that you are doing, right? And then let's say you compare it with the share of poorest 10%, poorest 20% in the income. So basically what are we looking at here is this, that you look at this ratio, share of top 10%, 20%, or whatever number, let's say share of top X% in the total income, and the share of bottom Y% in the total income. So this is what you essentially look at in the Kuznets ratio. Let's take one example here also. Let me just take one example to interpret this a bit more, okay? Yeah. So let's say these are the numbers that you have. You have the share of bottom 20% in the total income and the share of richest 20% in the total income. Check it. And three different kind of distributions we are taking. In the first distribution, this is what you have. Bottom 20% has 10% of total income share, and these have 30%. Another is, let's say, bottom 20% has only 5% in the total income, and richest 20% has 40% share. And third is, suppose, 2% here and 60% here. You can take any numbers for your own understanding, or if you look at actual data, then you will get these numbers anyways. So what is the Kuznets ratio here? Calculate. Simply take the ratio here, 30 by 10, 40 by 5, and 60 by 2. Okay. Now, how do you understand these numbers? Like, what is the significance? What is the interpretation? So when you are saying 3 here, what does that mean? That the richest 20% is making 3 times more than the bottom 20%. Similarly, for the third case, the richest 20% makes 30 times more than the bottom 20%. They are earning 30 times more than the bottom 20%. Okay. Which means that the degree of inequality is the lowest in the first society here that we are considering, and highest in this third society here. Okay. So this is how you understand the Kuznets ratio. Later in this video, we'll also look at some actual data from World Bank regarding the Kuznets ratio. Okay. Now moving on to the Gini coefficient. चलिए, इसके बाद जो थर्ड मेजर है आपके पास ऑफ इनइक्वालिटी इज द Gini coefficient. This is the most commonly used measure of inequality and also very intuitive. Let's see. So this is the formula. Don't get scared of looking at the formula. This is very simple. I'll explain what we are doing here. Okay. Forget about the formula for the timing. Just try to understand what we have in mind. Okay. Take one simple example. Suppose there are only 3 individuals in the society. Okay. And we know their income levels. Let's say Y1, Y2, and Y3. Or for the sake of simplification, let's just say these are the 3 individuals, A, B, and C. And their income is suppose 10 rupees, 20 rupees, and 30. This is the income. So what is inequality here? Think about this. You can simply say that, well, between A and B, what is the inequality? Well, B is making 10 rupees more than A. What about between A and C? Well, 30 minus 10, that is 20. Similarly, between B and C, well, 10, right? 20 minus 30. So in a way, this is just one inequality is about just how one person's income is different from other person's income, right? So this is what you do here. You basically take the difference in income between all possible pairs and then just add it across. Okay. First, figure out what are the possible pairs here, right? So you have three individuals. So what are the possible pairs? Well, A with A with B, A with C. Then you have B with B, B with A, and B with C. Similarly, C with A, C with B, and C with C. These are the possible pairs, and you take their income differences. A versus A, 0. A versus B, 10. A versus C, 20. B versus B, 0. B versus A, 10. B and C, 10. C and A, 20. C and B, 10. C and C, 0. That's it. You simply add it across. The absolute differences, you simply add these pairs. Okay. Let's see what is the sum here. Just add it across and you see that this is 80. So this in a way is your inequality, right? But it doesn't stop here. You need to refine these numbers a bit more because we want to see this relative to, let's say, what is the average income level in the society. So you want to look at the average difference basically. So what would be the average here of this difference? How many, just how many pairs are there? If there are 3 individuals, how many pairs we could make? 3 square, 9, right? So if there are n individuals, then if you want to find out the average, then what do you need to divide by? N square, right? So you find the sum, the absolute difference between all the pairs, and then just add it across and you divide by n square. What else do you see? Well, each pair is counted twice, right? So you need to divide by 2 also. Look at this. You have A and B and then you have B and A also. Same goes for others. So you need to divide by 2 also. And then you also divide by average income level because you want to see this, the average differences in the society relative to the average income level. So you divide by the average income also. This is how you calculate. So for instance, what is average income here? Just calculate 10 plus 20 plus 30 divided by 3 from here. These are the income levels. So you can calculate the mean, which is 20, right? So now apply this. Sum is 80 divided by n is what here? 3 square into 2 into 20. That's it. This is your Gini coefficient. Okay. Okay. So now note that your Gini coefficient will lie between 0 to 1. Higher the Gini coefficient, which means higher is the inequality, right? Because the sum of differences is increasing, the numerator is increasing, which means the difference between income levels between any pair is increasing. So if G is equal to 0, what does that mean? Perfect equality. Everyone has the same income level. Because you see, if you look at the difference pairs, it's all 0 because there is no difference. If G is equal to 1, means perfect inequality, which means that if one person has the entire income. Okay. So this is how you can understand the Gini coefficient. Now look at the formula, nothing to be scared of. What are we saying? These are the different pairs that you have. You take the difference, absolute difference, and just add it across, right? So why do we have double summation sign here? It means that first you keep any particular income level constant and then you vary other income levels. For instance, what we did here, we're taking A's income level first, then you do it with A, with B, A with C, A with A. This is how you calculate the differences. Then you fix B and then you take the income differences between B and A, B and B, B and C, right? So that's why double summation. First you keep one income level constant, very others. Then you take another income level, keep it as constant, and then very others. Okay. And now you know already why we are dividing by 2 and n square and the average income level. So this is how simple the Gini coefficient is. Okay. So now we have some sense of the different measures of inequality. There are many other measures of inequality also, but for now we are discussing these three only. And now we'll go back to the World Bank data and we'll look at some of the numbers related to these measures.